So welcome to Career Inland Empire Coffee Break. Today we are talking with Justin Toombs from Brian Cox Mechanical. So Justin, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to tell you a little bit of information about Justin here. So Justin has proudly served the heating and ventilation and air conditioning industry for over 12 years. He is currently the primary service sales representative for BCM Customer Service, which is Brian Cox Mechanical. Brian Cox Mechanical is a HVAC mechanical contractor that has been serving Southern California for over 30 years. They specialize in HVAC preventative maintenance, 24-hour service, pre-construction retrofit projects. Justin's key role in service sales is establishing new relationships and, more importantly, establishing happy long-term partnerships. Justin works with many property managers, facility managers, operations, and owners who successful, but many have struggled with, or who were successful, but many have struggled with frustrations from things not getting fixed correctly, high operational costs, and poor response times. Justin and his service team have solved these kinds of issues through their unique operations process, training, and increased service capabilities. So Justin is definitely passionate about customer service and is excited about joining crew here today. So thank you.
Thank you.
So Justin, basically, how about just tell us about Brian Cox Mechanical? Tell us about your company.
Yeah, so Brian Cox Mechanical, you know, we're an HVAC contractor. Been serving Southern California for over 30 years. Actually, there's about 60 years of total service because Brian Cox used to work with his father, Ray Cox, who was in Southern California for 30 years, and he got a degree in mechanical engineering and started his own company. And so, yeah, they're really great. Before that, I was with a company called SWI, and they actually attained SWI along with a lot of our technicians, and so their service capabilities grew. So we can handle a wide area as far as territory. So we go from San Diego to Imperial County to Riverside County, Orange County, San Bernardino, all the way up to Ventura. And so we have technicians spread out all over. We have over 220 employees. That gives us really good response times because a lot of our technicians, they work from their home location. So and we hired all over those areas. So
wow.
Yeah,
I mean, 220 employees in the service area that you cover, that's a large area and a lot of people to manage every day.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, and I work out of the Ontario office. We have a really great team there. I have a really good service supervisor, two really great dispatchers who've been doing it for a long time. So they're really good at what they do. We have satellite tracking all our vehicles. So if technician A is closer to an account that needs immediate response time, they're really good at logistically being creative to make sure that our response times are really good with our customers. So.
Okay. So does your company handle commercial and residential for HVAC?
Yes, we're primarily commercial. However, we do we do have a couple of accounts that are residential. Like we have a couple residential high-rise and multifamily dwellings. So
okay.
Absolutely.
So what does HVAC stand for? Because some people might not understand what that means.
No, absolutely. So HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
So anything we're involved, we can do anything from, refrigeration, hydronics, chillers, you name it.
So it's more than just an air conditioning component. If you have a facility that is for, a grocery store or a food service, you put in the refrigeration systems as well as the air conditioning?
We can do refrigeration as well. So in our industry, you have your typical HVAC, which would more so involve certain temperatures, ductworks, things like that. Whereas refrigeration is more of for like processed foods and things like that.
Right.
They're kind of like their own little niche, but
Okay.
we are attaining. They actually have their own license too. So like ours is a C20 license, and the refrigeration is another one. I believe C36, and so we're actually attaining that license as well. We
Okay.
have technicians who are capable of doing refrigeration. Some of our accounts we do work with the refrigeration side. So like walk-ins, reach-ins for restaurants and things like that, we could take care of that as well.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you then about solar. So is solar used in your industry? Your systems work with that? Is it the same, or how does that operate?
Yes, so solar is in our industry. However, we don't install or remove. So we don't supply or install it. But you know, if some of our customers do have equipment that where their building is supplies their power by solar.
Okay. So they
Absolutely.
can work one and the same then. Your systems will work with whatever solar capabilities the building itself has then.
Yes, yes. So in regards to solar, I mean, typically it's another component, but where you'll have your solar, and then it'll which is direct current, and they'll use certain components that'll transfer to alternating current, and that'll feed the air conditioning that we work on. So essentially, it's from a power standpoint, if there's equipment that actually has solar, I mean we work on it. I mean the powers, the supply is one component. That's wherever the power comes from. It's not that it's irrelevant, but sorry, I just want to make sure I explained it correctly. But
No, I understand.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, how do I say it? We do have customers that have equipment that is supplied by solar. So sorry.
Okay. All right. No,
Sorry about
I
that.
understand. That is what I wanted to know, is if the systems you service and you install were able to capability to work with solar. So that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So do you handle ground up or renovations on property? So when you're going to be putting in your HVAC systems, does it have to be done on a ground up project, or are you able to do a renovation on an already freestanding building or apartment complex or home?
Yeah, we can do from the ground up. Yeah, we have our construction and pre-construction uh, department that can easily handle that. I mean, Brian Cox Mechanical started out on that side. Service was introduced a little bit later. So when they originally opened up the company, their main focus was buildings from the ground up, pre-construction. So we can be part of the design, project, budgeting, engineering, all of that.
So it's important to get your company involved right from the start if it's a ground up construction project.
Yeah, we're flexible. We can be involved as early as possible. We have accounts right now that are opening new buildings. We have a special customer in Ontario that builds parts for the space shuttle and for space, and they have this big machinery, and we're part of the design of making sure that the right equipment is installed to properly cool the machinery. We do the same thing for comfort cooling, you name it.
Comfort cooling, what is that?
So you have process cooling and comfort cooling. So comfort cooling would be the air conditioning that serves offices, where basically where people are in, wherever people are present. If HVAC is cooling or heating, that's comfort cooling, and process cooling is more for like machinery or food or just stuff like that. So,
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
that makes sense. So what's an average time frame for a project when you're going to be installing HVAC?
It's really contingent upon the size of the project. If say we're installing a 4 or 5 ton package unit on a small building, that could be as quickly as 1 day. Or if we're doing like a small retrofit job where we're changing out existing equipment like water source heat pumps and things like that. That can average 60 days, but major construction can be as long as 1 to 2 years. So it's really contingent upon the size of the actual job and the scope of work of the job.
Wow. 1 to 2 years on a project. That's, I mean, you're working right along with the contractors then when they're putting up.
Yeah, so we have to work with different contractors. So you have your electrical, your plumbing, and so the major jobs, like if we were doing like a 20-story high rise or something like that, there's so many parties involved that you have to work with their schedules.
Understood.
Absolutely.
So are the HVAC systems and units, are they based on size per square footage of the property?
Yes, so there's other variables involved, but that's typically the rule of thumb. So whenever there's like a new building that's being built out, typically the rule of thumb is most contractors will size it based upon square foot. So the rule of thumb is usually for every ton, it cools about 400 square feet. So if you got a 800 square foot room, then that a 2-ton unit would suffice. So a 1-ton unit is basically equivalent to 12,000 BTUs. So that's typically how we would size it. But then other variables can get involved, which could be the amount of people in the room, if there's equipment that produces heat, windows, the direction the building is facing. If you have a room that has a lot of south-facing windows, that's going to generally create more heat. So it can get pretty interesting, and it's actually really fun to calculate all those kind of things to provide the adequate amount of cooling, because you don't want to go too high or you don't want to go too low. If you go too low, then you're not getting that unit has to work harder. But if you size it too high, you can run into what's called short cycling. Short cycling would be the unit turning on and off too often, and it works the unit hard in a different way. So you want to make sure you size things to that perfect or that sweet spot where it can efficiently do its job.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. So is there an
Absolutely.
average cost per unit? How does that usually work?
Yeah, so again, there's so many variables involved, but I mean the rule of thumb, excuse me, sorry, I'm just kind of moving my little my little picture around. Yeah, so the rule of thumb is generally per ton 2,500 to 3,000, but again that's a high, well, not a high, but that's like a ballpark estimate, because when we do an install, I'll give you a perfect example. So if you have a single-story building and you have a 2-ton package unit on the roof, the variables involved for that would be the type of unit that we're picking out, how big is a crane that we need to purchase to do that job, where the unit's facing. Does the unit need a new curb adapter? So with that, so there's so many variables involved. The price can kind of fluctuate. I've done jobs where we install a 5-ton unit just for a couple $1,000s, but then we would do it for another customer, and because the crane is so much larger, it's a lot more money. It's really just contingent upon multiple variables, but typically the rule of thumb is about 2,500 to 3,000 per ton. So if you have a 2-ton unit, it could be anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000.
So a lot of logistics go into what you're doing day to day when you're going to be installing and servicing your type of systems. It's not just a plug and play situation. You really have to think about everything.
Yeah. So perfectly explained. Yeah, exactly. That we have to consider all those variables in order to make sure that we price things out correctly. So to make sure it's both parties are happy, where we do the job right and then the install gets done right.
Okay. So how many projects will your company handle a year?
We typically handle anywhere from 300 to 400 projects a year. So we do quite a bit. It's during this pandemic, we've done quite a bit of work. With COVID-19, there's been a lot of uncertainty and you know, just nervousness and just a lot of uneasiness with a lot of our customers. And so, you know, we've gone out and we've tried to create solutions to combat that. And for example, one of the things we've been doing for our customers is in your HVAC system, you have filters in there, and the common filter rating is what's called like a MERV 8, which catches larger particles like dust and dander. But we've actually been installing for some of our customers who requested a higher MERV rating filter of like a MERV 13. A MERV 13 catches those smaller micron particles, which also include like viruses and things like that. Another solution we've been providing for our customers is what's called bipolar ionization. So what a bipolar ionization device is a air cleaner that we put inside of our customers' AC units that actually kill the virus by using what's called ionization. So ionization is basically the air we breathe has what's called positive and negative ions. Machinery will produce, like your computers, your printers will produce negative, and then you have your positive in there. It's actually naturally occurring in nature. So, like, have you ever noticed after a thunderstorm, the air just feels and smells fresher?
Right.
Well, you know, what happens is if you have a lot of negative ions, and you know the clouds and everything will produce the positive, and you get the lightning and everything like that. So it's kind of like that kind of technology, and what that does is for a virus, when you produce more negative and positive ions in the air, what it does is the COVID-19 virus is encased in a protein capsule. Well, that actually breaks down that protein capsule, and it basically makes it ineffective. It can't stick to your body and essentially kills the virus. And so we've been selling devices that actually pretty much do that. Another thing it does is when it breaks that protein capsule down, it actually sticks to other things like dust, dander, and clumps. It clumps those things together, so it gets caught in the filter easier. Really amazing technology, and this essentially has made us a lot more busier during this pandemic. Sorry to be so long-winded, but it's just really interesting, and it's amazing what technology is out there to combat the virus.
So your company really has done so many things to help your clients combat, you know, COVID, and
Yes.
so you're increasing your business in the last 6 months, basically.
Correct. Yeah, it's definitely been because as a matter of fact, you know, the supply houses for filters and things like that have been on back order, just because facilities that are open back up, businesses that are open back up, have been wanting that in order to, you know, to put their tenants, their customers, and everything at ease.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
So how has it affected your crews themselves? How has COVID affected the crews you have out there?
You know, originally we were like a lot of people are. You know, our service hours and everything went down. But once we started providing those innovations and things like that, and it just skyrocketed. So yeah, right now we've been very busy. We're very grateful for. And we've definitely increased our partnerships with our customers, because we want to be more than just a contractor to them. We want to be more of like a long-term consultant. If there's anything new out there that's going to, you know, put your customers or your tenants and everything at ease, or just increase the efficiency, reduce power usage, anything that's new out there, we go to our customers and say, hey, you know, this is, you know, we think this can help you. And so that's our philosophy.
Well, that is how you build long-term business and better business, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
of course, I mean, your company's been around over 30 years servicing the HVAC community. So that says something for what you guys are doing. That's great that you've been able to do that.
Absolutely.
You know, and I see your trucks everywhere on the freeways. I was going to take a picture of one to share with you today, but I couldn't figure, I was on the phone and I couldn't figure out how to take the picture while I was on the phone trying to drive the car. But I see the Brian Cox mechanical trucks everywhere out there. So you guys are everywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're a really, really good company. You know, our philosophy is we want to treat our customers buildings like it's your mother's retirement home. You know, you want to, you know, if you want to make sure that you know, she's properly cool, and you know, you know, if there's anything, be responsive. And so that's our philosophy when it comes to taking care of our customers.
Well, you're protecting their investment like it's yours, and that's what's important.
Exactly. That's better put.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So Brian, or Justin, thank you so much for telling us about your company today. I really appreciate just the information that you've been able to give to us and letting us know who you are and what you do day to day.
Yeah,
I do want to share 5 fun facts about you before we open it up for questions here. So in reading these, I just have to know, so you almost flew a helicopter into a volcano in the Philippines. So are you a helicopter pilot, number one, or was this a mistake? How, I don't know.
You know what?
Need some details.
It's a good way to like make people go, what happened there? So no, so I was in the Marine Corps, and you know, I did a tour in the Philippines, and I actually worked with Cobras and Hueys. So I was like an asset manager for them. So I managed like the calibration cycles of the test equipment for helicopters. So helicopters, because the way they fly, you know, they require a lot of testing, more than the fixed wing. The fixed wing is just, you know, your planes that just take off this way, because vibration can really is detrimental. The minimal vibrations that are detrimental to helicopters properly doing their job. Well, when we were in the Philippines, you know, we worked closely with the pilots, and they one day gave us the opportunity to fly with them and actually man the Cobra. So Cobra has a 2-section cockpit. So you have the, you know, so any pilot can you have 2 pilots in there, and they could take over. So I was in the front, and you know, you had your actual pilot manning it. And at one point he goes, okay, you know, I'm gonna switch the controls over to you. This goes up, this goes down, and he was in. So I kind of, being nervous, I misheard him, and I, you know, we were flying over a volcano, and I, you know, put the little controller down and just went vroom. And we almost went into the volcano, and so he immediately took over and flew us out of there. But it was just a funny story.
Did they let you take the controls back after that? Did you get another opportunity, or did they say no more?
No more.
No more? That was it.
We got it from here.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, exciting. So how many years were you in the military?
4 years.
Okay. Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you kindly.
So you met your wife on Match.com. So I've never done internet dating or online dating, but I hear a lot of people meet their spouse on you know, systems like those. But you guys have been married now for over 7 years. Congratulations. That's incredible.
Yeah, and the funny story about that is, you know, I was, I think it was like my last day under the subscription. I was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to, you know, do this anymore. And we found each other on that last day, and we went on a date and never left each other since. And, you know, we ended up getting married and been together for over 7 years, 2 kids later.
And your kids are beautiful, by the way. The picture that you sent over.
Oh, thank you, Kylie.
Beautiful. And so is your wife, is absolutely stunning. So what a beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
Kylie.
So you said you can draw, and you went to art school. So that was after the Marines or before? How did that work?
You know, after the Marine Corps, they gave me the Montgomery GI Bill, and I said, you know what, I want to kind of do something different. And I went to art school. I love to draw, but you know, it was very when something becomes a, you know, when something you love becomes a job, it kind of, you know, it became not so fun. I mean, I was pumping out, you know, 5-6 drawings a day. It was a lot of work. And so I decided to just change to something else and keep that more of a hobby and not a job, if that makes sense. So
So when you draw, do you do more artwork, or is it just like cartoon? What do you like to draw?
Oh, a little bit of everything. I can do like realistic charcoal drawings. You know, I drew pictures of my family. I can do, I get on the computer and do like graphic art stuff. Can do a little bit of everything. I have all kinds of software where I can just go from anything from something realistic to cartoony.
That sounds like a lot of fun. So you're working on your own sales tutorial and book.
Yeah, so I've been doing sales for the last 13 years, and you know, I really love what I do. I've taken a lot of courses from Sandler, Jeff Gitomer, Grant Cardone. You know, I listen to a lot of these really successful salespeople, and I use a lot of techniques. I mean, essentially, sales is more so uncovering a person's, you know, needs and wants and pains and finding a solution. So, you know, you want to make sure you first have the right solution. And you know, and have that integrity and things like that. I mean, the perception of sales is sometimes has been skewed over the years, but real sales is about that long-term relationship and partnership. And so, with the things I've learned over the years, I've been putting together something, because it's definitely, you know, it's a tough industry, and you know, whatever I could do to help others be successful would be nice.
You know, that is so important. And I will say, as someone who's in sales, that I shouldn't say they, but just a lot of companies don't give you the sales training anymore that they used to.
Yeah.
And when you're in sales all the time, just because you've been taught once doesn't mean you don't need that additional course, that additional time with someone to still, you know, sharpen your pencil, get your skills where they need to be, and keep on that same level, because you get
Yeah.
lax in what you're doing. So it is that you do need that. You do need
Oh,
that a
yeah,
lot. So
absolutely.
when you get that all lined up, let us know, because we can definitely have you come and speak to our chapter, because
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
majority
Yeah,
of
and in addition to that, there's so many other, you know, there's so many things that I've seen that's missing when it comes to companies and training their salespeople. I mean, you know, I always say that number one, it's really your self identity. I mean, you know, you get a lot of rejection, you get a lot of things that other you know, occupations don't really experience. And so, you know, it's really important to have a strong identity and understand that your results is not a direct reflection of who you are. And if you
right.
keep that in your mind, you can really be successful.
So true. So last question here, Justin, last fun fact. You learned to juggle during the pandemic.
Yeah, you know, my
Gosh.
wife laughs at me a lot. You know, I'm always into how to, you know, looking into ways to increase your brain power and knowledge, and you know, I stumbling across a lot of videos and a lot of things I read. You know, I found out that, you know, you have white matter and gray matter in your brain, and juggling actually increases that brain matter, which is, you know, that activity and everything in your brain. And so I just started with one ball, and then two, and then three, and then the next thing you know, I could do underhand tricks underneath my legs. And the wife's like,
Oh my gosh.
what is wrong with you?
Okay. Now, so you juggle with balls. Have you tried it with anything a little more like a water balloon or eggs or anything like that?
No, I haven't. I purchased these professional balls on Amazon. I've just been practicing with those, and yeah, but you know what, it's really helped. I mean, I feel like Spider-Man. I feel like I can just, like, when something falls over, I just my mind before my mind acknowledges it, I'm already like catching stuff. It's just it's funny. I'm actually really good at it now.
Are you able to show us any juggling right now? Are we putting you on the spot?
You know what? You know, yeah. Let me see if I can find my. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Oh, no
I'm gonna see
problem.
if I can find them. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, I found my little. So, all right, I'll show you. I have to kind of look up. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, so you just kind of like here. That's basically it.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Yes.
incredible. Wonderful. Well, I believe that we do have a couple of questions for you.
I'm sure you probably. I don't know if you've ever had an interview like this, but.
That is awesome, NoRhett. Never a dull moment. Don't put anything
I
past
didn't
your
expect that to happen.
That is awesome. I do have a question. So, as
Yeah,
you know, Justin, because you and I have spoken quite a few times,
yeah,
just about
absolutely.
the partnership with Crew and BCM. I'm just under 5 years in my career, and I am very just intrigued at how passionate you are for not only sales, but also the line of sales that you're in. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious, you know, you obviously know so many intricate details, and that's, you know, the devil's in the details. How did you get started with BCM? Was that a referral, or did you just apply and now you're a HVAC wizard, or how do
You
you,
know
how
what?
did you,
I love that question. So you know what? That's something that you wouldn't even believe. I apologize about my eye. So I went to this company called CP Kelco yesterday, and they have, you know, a lot of chemicals and stuff. And I walked past a little power exhaust, and I think some of the chemical kind of messed up my eye a little bit. Yeah, my field is a little, you know, sometimes you could get into some really crazy stuff. But so to answer your question, really interesting story. I actually was selling cars when I got out of the Marine Corps, while I was doing school and everything like that to kind of supplement, get some extra income. And I sold a car to a really nice guy named Bob Pritchard, and he owned a couple of HVAC stores. And he was just really impressed by my customer service and actually remembering him. You know, I sold him a car, and like 6 months later, he came in for service. You know, just routine service, and I go, "Hey, Mr. Pritchard, this and that," and I, you know, went and got him some coffee and you know, some other things. And he was like, "Man, I really like who you are." And one conversation led to another, and he told me about his stores, and he was actually looking for an outside sales guy. And I said, "Look, I would love to help you, but I know nothing about the HVAC industry, not one thing." And he took into account that, you know what, I'm willing to invest in your training and schooling and everything like that, because I think that your selling ability would really help, and will offset that learning curve. And so he gave me the opportunity, and things took off from there. And so I went from selling equipment, went from selling parts to equipment to getting into contracting. So I kind of grew in the industry.
wow,
That's
that's
incredible.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, the passion, I think that when you're in sales, you've got to be passionate and show that you're, you know, invested in your product. And I think that clearly is illustrated in anything you talk about that has to do with HVAC, for sure.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. And then one other question. So as far as I know, we touched on it a little bit, that Brian Cox Mechanical does do some residential projects, but mostly commercial, right?
Yes.
Would you say that it's, as a specialty, you specialize in HVAC and it doesn't really matter whether or not it's residential or commercial, or would you say that there is a specialty within each of those product types, so to speak? Like, is there a lot of differentiation between the types of units that, say, apartment complex would need versus multi-tenant office building?
Oh, great question. I really like that question. Yeah. So it's essentially the same. So I think one of the biggest difference between the commercial and the residential is a lot of residential use what's called split systems. So you have two parts to well, this is more of a simplified answer, but you have like two major components. You have like what's called your air handler evaporator, and you have your condensing unit. So if you look at your house, you'll go outside, you probably see like one or two, like in your house right now, you probably see like one or two condensing units outside with the fan that turns on whenever the AC turns on. And then inside of your house, you probably in your ceiling or in your garage, you'll probably see like a furnace, which which blows that cool air from that came from the condenser outside. Well, in the commercial side, they typically put it all together in one package unit and slap it on a roof. Or for like high rises, they have chillers and whatnot. So to answer your question, it's really it's all pretty much the same thing. So I mean, a technician, when they go to school and learn the trade, they get taught on every single type of equipment. commercial and residential, because it's all the same parts. It's the condenser, fan motor, compressor, contactors, relays. They all have the same pieces and components, and they all, you know, have the same type of refrigeration cycle and processes. So absolutely.
Okay. And that leads me to my next question. Sorry, I'm curious because I'm in the retail side of things, and we constantly have, you know, tenants or buyers having concern about the HVAC. When was it last replaced? How much longer does it have in its lifetime? So when you replace a unit and it's a brand new unit, typically what's the life cycle of a brand new HVAC unit?
I
For
love
a
that
commercial
question.
property?
You were asking some, I love your questions. It's so good.
I'm curious. We get asked
You're asking
questions
some really
like this
great
all the
questions.
time, and I'm like, I don't know the details, so might as
No,
well.
that's perfect. So there's what's called ASHRAE, American Society of Heating and Air Conditioning Engineers, and what they did is they came up with like the median life expectancy of most, you know, units. And so the median life expectancy of most units is 15 years, but you have to understand that that's based upon, like, I would say, like medium term, you know, variables, which is like, you know, how close are you to, you know, how close is that building to the freeway? How much, you know, smog are you getting? You know, do you get a lot of, you know, pollen and whatever that could, you know, how often are you maintaining your units? My side is more on actually service and maintenance, you know, because according to ASHRAE, you have to maintain your units every quarter. So you have to do things like clean your coils, change out your filters and things like that. So with that being said, that even though the median life expectancy is 15 years on an actual unit, we've seen them go from 20 to 25 years to 30 years if the conditions are right. If you're maintaining your equipment, if you just happen to be in that nice area where you're, you know, where the humidity and, you know, and whatnot is just you know, optimal for that unit. So I've seen it all.
Did you say typically, or the Ashware, I'm probably butchering that, they mentioned to get it serviced quarterly? Is that what you said? So like four times
Correct.
a year?
Yes. So ASHRAE and actually the OEM the OEM procedures or standards is quarterly.
Okay.
The original equipment manufacturer recommends that you want to maintain your equipment on a quarterly basis. So at a minimum, change your filters every quarter. Check certain components. Like, so the bread and butter of our relationships is preventative maintenance. So we actually go out to customers, check their units on a quarterly basis. And what we try to do is in order to save costs for our customers, is try to find the small before they become a big issue. What that means is if a unit has a small contactor that's running high on amps or is pitted or whatever, we will recommend replacing that before it damages your compressor, which is a, you know, $1,000 job, you know, versus a $15-20 job, if that makes sense. So
Okay. And then does BCM provide maintenance for units that they did not install?
absolutely, we do that all the time. So if any of your members, you know, have buildings that they feel like aren't being maintained, or they have concerns and whatnot, we're always happy to provide a free. I actually go myself. I'm dressed up today, but usually, you know, I go from being dressed up in the office to being in a hard hat and vest and and inspecting the equipment myself. So we provide that. We provide free proposals for that every day.
Right. Okay. And would that be something that, say, you get just your HVAC unit looked at, and BCM would be able to say, you've probably got about 5 years left on this, or would you be able to tell by servicing a unit about how long is left in its life cycle, or is that just?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of, so every contractor kind of runs into that. Another great question. So we will do equipment evaluations all the time, and it's kind of hit or miss. You know, it's like trying to catch it's trying to catch a moving item. You know, it's one of the things where, you know, you could look at a unit and it can just completely look really bad, but can just still run for many years as long as the internal components are doing well. And there's other variables involved as far as like how often is the unit running, you know, what are the set points. You know, there's just a lot, but a lot of times we can kind of provide a ballpark of how long we think a unit would run. But in addition to that, we'll also provide the recommendations on how to make that unit or how to keep that unit running as long as possible.
Right. Okay. That's all for me. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no, great questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. So Justin, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your support of Career Inland Empire and your company being a silver affiliate sponsor for our organization. We're very grateful for, and we hope to see you in person somewhere soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you both. I really enjoyed the questions, and I really enjoyed this Zoom meeting.
Perfect. It was great to see you. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you. Thank you both.